to the Raw Food Health Empowerment Show. I'm your host, Samantha Salmon, certified holistic health coach and author of You Can Afford to Be Healthy. And today I'm answering your questions. 3 questions that I've been asked recently, so I'm going to dive into them. The first one is, why is losing weight so important to me? So most of you, if you've read my book, You Can Afford to Be Healthy, this right here, you'll know my story where I lost my grandmother, who was very, very close to me. She, was there throughout my whole youth, and, helping her through her journey with diabetes was a big part of my childhood growing up. So I lost her through complications due to diabetes on hospice care, which means she was home in our living room on a gurney dying until she passed away. I think that lasted less than a week, probably like a few days, where like her toe turned black. And between the time her toe turned black and she passed away, I believe that was like 2 weeks. But anyway, my grandma has been, from I can remember, she's had a huge stomach. She's been big. But in my childhood growing up, no one ever said grandma is obese or overweight. Like no one had that conversation. I don't remember us ever talking about that. But like when the firemen would come, because we'd have to call 911 many times. She would have to be rushed to emergency for different stuff because she had a heart condition, on top of the diabetes. And we had, before, there would be like 5 fire guys taking her down on like a stretcher, because she would be on the upstairs level and would have to come downstairs to the main level to take her out. So they would need all 5 guys to take her out. But then we eventually put in a chair, I think they call it a lift, on the stairs, so she could sit on that and come down, for her doctor's visits and, other special times where she had to leave the house, which was not often because of this. She had problems with her knees, all this stuff. Like when she showered, she had to sit in a chair, all of these things. If you have family members that are overweight, and even more so if they're elderly, because at this point, my grandma died at like 85, 86, and she died when I was 18. So figure, I don't know, maybe 10 years that she was like kind of just, upstairs in her room for the most part and not as mobile. And so, because all the pressure and weight on her knees, she had joint issues, all that stuff. She took lots of meds, like 20 pills a day, crazy. So anyway, watching her suffer and go through all of this and having to prick her fingers every day, I cannot do pills. And I don't know if it's like the fear, if it stems from watching her, but I can't swallow pills. I go through a whole thing. I can't get any injections. I can't test my blood or anything to do with needles. Like I just, it's a whole emotional episode. I cannot. And I had to watch her prick her fingers every day. And then, when the diabetes progressed and she had to get the insulin injections in her stomach on a daily basis, those needles were ridiculously long. I mean, they made the blood testing one seem like nothing. This was like a syringe, it was really frightening. So ever since I would say ever since college, I was and she passed away my first year of college, but even before she passed away, like freshman year, first semester, I was in the gym all the time. I ate out a lot, and I was lactose intolerant and still ate pizza and McDonald's sometimes, but I definitely had salads and different things. What I considered my big thing at the time was working out. Like I just wanted to be as fit as possible and drink lots of water. That was a big thing for me. The food part um didn't really connect. I did not at the time I didn't see pizza as a bad thing. I knew that eating out all the time wasn't really that great cuz my mom was like anti eating out. Um and that has to do with her upbringing and her whole journey, but like the food choices that I was making, I didn't really see it as that bad, you know? So you can see how far I've come on this journey. But, the exercise piece was important, drinking water was important. So I did those things and I did them really well and very much consistently. And it was because of just being with my grandma. Like during high school, like there were times I wanted to go out with friends and I couldn't go out with friends because I had to be there with my grandma. Someone had to be there with her, just in case something happened. Someone had to be there. She had to have her medicine on time. She had to get to eat at certain times of the day because of her medicine schedule and stuff like that. And so it was a huge part of my life, like her struggle was like my life experience, um and so the question, why is losing weight so important to me? Like and the second question, why do I monitor my weight so closely, is because I know, like, I'm the type of person, I come from a family. I don't know if my grandma was like this, but I come from a family where we tend to eat a lot, and I am the type of person, like growing up, I would watch a lot of TV and snack a lot. So I would just be eating all the time, and I have the tendency, even with my dietary change, to eat a lot, graze, like it's healthy stuff, but I'll eat a lot. And if I don't monitor myself closely, if I don't pay attention to my body, then I don't want to end up in a situation where I'm at a weight where I can't fix it. And then I end up where my grandma was. Because I remember fourth grade, the day, I think it was the day before fourth grade. It was Labor Day. I remember it like it was yesterday because I sprained my ankle. It was the night I first learned how to rollerblade, and I was struggling with it the whole day. And towards the night, I finally got it, and I was good, having a good time. And my dad's like, "Come, Sam, it's time to go." And I'm like, looking at him, I'm like, "No, I'm like, I'm having so much fun now because I finally got it. I'm not falling down." And then I'm looking at him, and I'm responding to him saying no, and I run right into a bush, and I end up spraining my ankle. So I had to be lifted and put in the car. And then when I got home, at the time my grandma was living in the basement of our home, because our home really like was a really nice middle class home. It's a really nice middle class home where there's a kitchen on the first floor, kitchen on the basement level. Like the basement level is like an apartment in itself, right? So anyway, I am like on my butt on the stairs, like kind of crawling downstairs to cry to my grandma over my ankle. And at that time, I remember she wasn't slender, but she wasn't obese. Her stomach was reasonable. And somewhere between fourth grade, that time, and high school, like her stomach was just protruding so much. Something happened there. And so when I see these people, there's even like this one case that happened, and I'm just going to read it because I don't remember it quite verbatim, but um, it was recently published. A man in South Africa which this is crazy that they even do this in South Africa, but he was working for an employer. He gained some weight and it got so out of control that he had to start working from home, right? He went up to like 529 pounds. And we've seen worse here in this country. There was another video my mom sent me of a guy that was like 700 pounds. But this guy, 529 pounds, he couldn't go to work. He was so big. So he worked from home. But even at a certain point, like the employers are like, this is just not working for us anymore. But they didn't let him go. What they did was they hired a health and wellness coach for him to help him, which is just like, that's awesome, right? That a company would support their employees like this. And so he worked with the coach and ended up losing about 143 pounds over 8 months with that coach. But the thing is, he had all these things going on, and I'll go more into detail on the blog, and you can find the link for the blog to the description of this video. But the thing is, there has to be something that gets someone from a normal weight, because we're not born at 529 pounds. So something happens where we're about to go over that breaking point, and either we're not paying attention or we're so in a dark place mentally and emotionally that we just don't care, and it just snowballs from there and gets worse. Now for me, because I'm mindful of what can happen to me if I don't pay attention, I pay attention. I want to stay away from that breaking point where it's very difficult for me to recover from that place. So I just want to keep it as easy for myself and as flexible for myself as possible. And then, like, the third question I was asked is how to be effective in your weight loss journey without being perfect. And this ties into that. So my thing is being mindful all the time and monitoring where I am, so it doesn't get out of control where it's a huge thing for me where I have to be I'll feel like I'll have to be really perfect to get back to a place where I feel happy about where my body's at. And so that's really the motivation for me, monitoring my weight closely. And if I get to a weight where I'm not comfortable with, like when I start hitting 130, I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Because I've gotten up to 140 pounds when I first went vegan. And that was because I didn't like vegetables and I had a lot of pasta, right? And breads and, just wheat stuff like the oatmeal, almond butter and jelly sandwiches, pasta, everything. And, that's what I knew to eat, really. So it caused the weight gain. So, every time I monitor and I get to like 130, then I'm like, oh, okay, what happened this week that got me there? So I can course correct. So for me, that 130 is like the brakes. Okay, Sam, it's time to pay. What happened? So I stay on top of myself so that it doesn't spiral out of control, because life happens, right? You'll have stressful times and things are going to happen. You want that wiggle room, and you also want to be accountable to yourself to keep yourself from going over that breaking point. So how to be effective in your weight loss journey without being perfect. I am not perfect. I am not perfect. And this is why I love this vegan lifestyle, this healthy, whole foods, vegan lifestyle way of eating, high raw, because I don't have to be perfect to keep my body under control. So every time it's always something different. If I can't, work out, or I just don't have the energy, I'm tired that day, I just, was so busy and I couldn't manage to, work out at the time I had planned to work out or whatever, then, I just skip the day and I forgive myself. I don't stay beating myself up. I don't really have to, because I know even at 130, I'm still good. I'm still within a healthy weight range. It just means it's like a yellow light. Yellow light, yellow light. If I hit 140, that's a red light, right? Because 140 is the max for my height. I'm 5'3". 140 is the max. of where I need to be. And I know where I feel comfortable. You know, having done this journey and experimented with my body, I know where I feel comfortable. So 130 is yellow light, so I don't really need to stress myself, you know. And if I'm at 120 something, you know, and I want to eat out at this place or whatever, you know, or do whatever, um, it's fine. I'm not gonna beat myself up over it. But this is how I keep myself in line. Now, if you have like, so bringing it back to what I was saying about how I fell off my workout routine, but then I saw that I was moving in a direction I didn't want to go in with my weight, and I got back on it. How do I get back on it? It's all about habits. So I'm a huge um I don't know, practitioner of creating habits. I create habits for everything. I think mostly it started from the fact that my I've always struggled with like remembering things ever since I was a child, probably because of my diet and because I wasn't that active as a child. Like I did do dance on Saturdays, but I wasn't really active during the week. So when you really think about activity level and what it should be, especially for a child, I didn't have that. So my brain really wasn't working. I would say my brain was not working at 100%, to be honest. So I've always struggled with remembering, but I'm also a little bit of a perfectionist where I would beat myself up for not remembering certain things that were important for me to remember. So I've always created systems and habits so I don't have to think about a thing. It's just automatically happening for me. My body will do it even if my mind is not there. I could be thinking about whatever, but my body's going to do it. Like the way I, use the bathroom in the morning, brushing my teeth, washing my face, whatever, like the sequence is the same. What I do is the same. How I do it is the same. And that's the same way I set up my morning. So like now, like with the situation where, I took a break and then my schedule too changed a little bit. So it was hard to kind of figure out where to put my workouts in. I was thinking, I would put it in later in the day, but then something happened where I had, client work that I needed to do. Then it got too late and then I couldn't fit it in. And so when that happened enough times, I'm like, okay, no, we need to go back to the morning workouts because morning, all I need to do is wake up earlier and get it done. And it doesn't matter how I feel physically, mentally, emotionally, or what's going on because it's already gotten done in the morning. So that's basically how I structure my morning. I wake up, I make my breakfast, which is my breakfast smoothie or whatever. And I just prepare it so I have it to consume like around 9. Um, but then, so then I prepare it, I put it in the fridge, and then I work out, and then I take a shower, and then I, get dressed and go about my day. But doing all of that in the morning, like just having that pattern and making it a habit, it's on my schedule, so it's a habit. I really don't need to think about the sequence or think about what I need to do. It's like it's just getting done. And so that's really been helpful for me. And of course it's going to look different for every person. And how you can create habits in your life, I'll definitely dig deep into this on the blog, so you could click on the link to the description to this video, because habits, I think, are the best thing. People talk about all the time about willpower. Your willpower will run out. Your motivation, like motivation to work out, what is that? Like for me, there's no motivation to work out. Okay? That's maybe if you're in a perfect world, whatever, but not, it doesn't sustain you. Like for me, I make the decision that this is what I'm going to do. And then I put a plan in place to make it happen. And then when it comes time to execute on the plan, I don't think about it. The decision has already been made. So I just follow through with the plan. I follow through. Just like, when I went to school, no one had to tell me. I didn't have to be motivated to go to school every day. It's like, no, like this is what I'm doing. It's already been decided on. I'm following through to the end. right? You don't need to be motivated every day to do the things that you need to do. What you need to do is just make a plan and execute on the plan. And that's how I do it. Now, if you're just getting started and you're trying to build a habit, um, there are some tips. There's this book that I read that was really good. And what it did for me personally, like I didn't learn anything new necessarily, but what I learned was that my brain has already been doing this ever since I was a young child. You know, it just kind of validated what I've been doing and why I've been doing it. Not necessarily that I needed the validation because it's what's working for me and it's been very helpful for me in terms of being able to best utilize my time. I've always been the type of person to have at least 2 or 3 jobs or job responsibilities at a time. Like even with the store, I worked full time. I had the store, I had my blog. I've worked with other people. So I'm always doing a ton of stuff, like super busy, jam packed schedule. But yet I still make time to take care of myself, to eat healthy meals, to exercise, meditate, you know, enjoy life. So yeah, all of that has to do with the fact that I just create rituals. I make a decision, I make a plan, I utilize my calendar, and I make the most out of my time. And also, I have great people around me to remind me to disconnect once in a while when I need to take that time off and have some balance or some harmony in my life with just not doing anything, which can be very difficult. And that's where meditation comes into play, and that sound bathing comes into play, which we talked about last week. I'll put a link to the description below so you can check that out if you're the type of person who's always going, always running, and so your mind is super full and super busy. And meditation's been difficult, so it's been hard for you to disconnect. That's a really great strategy technique to utilize. But hopefully this has been helpful for you. And if you want to dig deeper on how to start creating these habits for yourself to like reach your health goals, then definitely click on the link to the blog where I'll go into more detail. You can also pick up the book if you want to read the book, The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do in Life and in Business. All right. And I hope you guys have a blessed week, and I'll see you next week.